Hi everyone, welcome to History on Trial. This is Dr. Tracy McCarthy, psychologist, attorney, and educator. We're going to be continuing our earlier discussion related to slave ships and rebel ships and convict ships and the transatlantic slave trade and the transatlantic transportation of people out of Western Europe and the Isles into the Americas and into Africa and then into America by way of Africa. We're going to start by looking at some slave ship names and some of the manifests that go along with these slave ship names. And so we're going to be analyzing some patterns related to naming these various slave ships. And we're starting off with Truth Commission number 1, part 1. And this slave ship is known as the Lucifer. In addition to there being a slave ship named Lucifer, you also have a later ship, a tanker, in 1899, also known as Lucifer. And this slave ship is noted as being launched in 1899, coming out of Liverpool, and then this ship sank in 1907. Notably, this ship in 1899 provides plenty of information about the ship. You can see the name of the owner, the operator, you can see who sponsored this ship, and you can see the cost of the ship. And that information is not readily available related to the slave ship Lucifer that we will be looking at. This is the slave ship Lucifer information, and you can see that the slave ship Lucifer, from the information that we do have, started its voyage in Boston, and that's the most amount of information that we have related to the origins of this slave ship. And we see that the principal place of landing was in Rio de Janeiro. This is a late coming slave ship out of 1850. And then it is noted that there were 390 enslaved people arriving at the first port. What's really odd about this ship is that you don't have really any information about the ship. You can't find out the name of the vessel owner from this database. You don't have anything mention related to the place that the ship was constructed, when it was constructed, where it was registered. You don't see a flag in relation to this particular ship. And here you see information related to the voyage, where it began, where they purchased people when they started the human trafficking endeavor with this particular ship, and then where they landed. Although there is very little information provided related to the details of this ship and its manifest, what you do have is information related to the number of people who embarked and disembarked. You have 430 embarking, but only 390 disembarking. And you also have information related to the source data. So you can find this information in the British Parliamentary Papers. Generally speaking, when someone thinks about a slave ship given the name Lucifer, images such as these might present. However, there is another presentation being provided related to this idea of Lucifer. And here you have Encyclopedia Britannica presenting a different definition or understanding of Lucifer. And here you see Encyclopedia Britannica indicates that Lucifer means light bearer, related to Greek phosphorus in classical mythology, also related to the name morning star or day star. And so we're going to look at a little bit more information about that, because there's an interesting pattern of also naming slave ships related to morning star. And another word that relates to morning star is this OR, which means light, also daylight, sunlight. And so this word is also coming out of Strong's Concordance, also related to this idea of Lucifer. And here you see additional notations in Strong's Concordance for Hebrew 2:15 for OR, and you see that it means to be or become light. When you look down below, you see more translations, and you see brightened, dawned, to give light, to give us light, to illuminate. And so you see this idea of being a light bringer, which is synonymous with Lucifer. And you can see how readily this ties to this etymology of the idea of morning, because you also have that OR, again with morning, and morn being the first part of the day, the morning. It's also related to the old Saxon Morgen. And if you think about how people in Deutschland, also known as Germany, say good morning, you can see the translation there. And here you can see this pattern of naming slave ships related to this morning star. Now what's interesting is you have these morning star slave ships coming out of London, you have them coming out of Bristol, and you have them coming out of Rhode Island. Now the ones that are coming out of Rhode Island and Bristol down below are the later slave ships that were coming about towards the end of the transatlantic slave trade in terms of it being legal. But the ones you see up above are earlier in the 1600s, and those were coming out of London and going to Newcastle and Barbados. Those were in the 1600s. And here you have some additional Lucifer / Morning Star slave ships coming out of Bristol and London. And you see them coming the 1600s, and then during that time of the battles of succession, you see a number of them related to Charleston and Barbados. And earlier you see in the 1600s related to Suriname and also Jamaica. What is noteworthy is that you have a cluster of very delusional people during the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s who thought to name slave ships the bringer of light, according to this definition, when in fact what they were doing was bringing quite a bit of darkness to the lives of many people then and continuing on today. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care. See you soon.